Welcome to Markets Today. It's Friday and it's all about Ask Mbithe, a segment where I'm here to answer any of your questions in as far as investing in Kenya is concerned. You can reach us out on SMS line, that's 20146. You can also hit us up on Twitter. That's either at Mbithe Mwema on Twitter or Metropole TV. Let us know, what are your questions? What do you want to know? And more importantly, would you want to be part of us in terms of this segment, sitting either with me in studio or via video call and asking us questions? If so, please directly message me and we'll be more than happy to have you in this segment. For today, I am joined by Mr. Sang. Mr. Sang is what we call an up-and-coming investor, and I'm sure he's somebody in 10 years. I'll be looking at his portfolio, looking at billions of shillings, and telling him where he needs to put money to be able to chase a return. But for today, Mr. Sang is a person asking me the questions about investments. Karibu sana to the show, Mr. Sang.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. How's it going? How's your world looking like?
So far, so good.
Yes.
Here, Corona tendo.
What is going on with Corona? How is it making you feel?
It has instilled a lot of fear in several people.
Yes.
People are fearing to step out of their houses to go and mint money.
Yes.
And then, you see, 2 days or a day ago?
Yes.
There was this idea that, okay, it's a notion, a social thinking that Corona only affects all these people above the age of 60.
Yes.
But yesterday, I was surprised, a 2-day-old
yes.
tested positive for COVID-19 in South Africa. So it's something that affects everyone.
It affects everybody. And I
yes.
think what Corona is showing us is no one knows what it is. We are moving as by the day. And I think what's most important is honestly to just pay attention to what the government is telling us and to just obey. You know, we always say that your leaders have access to more information than you do. So when they're telling you to behave in a certain way, it's for your own good. So for us, social distancing as we have, washing your hands often, sanitizing your hands, putting on the mask and covering your mouth. Because I've been in spaces where people are taking it for granted, but it's for your own good, Mr. Sang. You know, you can't be investing if you're unhealthy. You can't be investing and enjoying the fruits of your benefits if you're dead. So it's something that we must do. But another thing that this COVID is bringing out is, as you said, the element of fear. Whether it's fear in your life, fear at your work, or fear in as far as investments are concerned, it's bringing that out. And I think a way to actually manage this is to say, this thing is affecting the whole world. Hii si kitu ya Afrika, ati sisi ndo tuliachwa nyuma, ama you know, kila mtu ameaffectiwa na COVID. So what you say is this, whatever COVID happens or whatever impact COVID has on your life, you're not alone. It has nothing to do with you. You know, you have a responsibility to take care of yourself, but the fact that it has happened to everybody, at least personally, it gives me a bit of comfort. And the next thing that it tells me is, because we've never been here before, the last time anything like this happened was 100 years ago, the Spanish flu. There are very few people who are 100 years.
Was it this severe?
It was different. We're in a better place now, Sang. Health was not the same way it was then. Hizo siku ilikuwa siku za watu tu kwenda kwa shamba na kurudi. So ukishikwa nayo ulikuwa unaisha. Sasa tuko na dawa. Sasa hata ukikaa kwa nyumba, watu wakaa kwa nyumba wako na internet. Sasa we have so many platforms where you can be able to get financial assistance if you need it. You know, so we are in a much stronger place.
But it seems like no one knows the truth, the origin of these things. Some people are alleging that it's a biological warfare.
So because even us, we do not know. Let's not go that way. But what I would like to encourage you is to say, no one knows how it's going to end. So rather than focusing on fear, which will make you make bad decisions as a human being, have faith and just know you'll make it through. You're stronger than you are, so you'll make it through. So be positive and encourage yourself.
It's true.
I think, and then, you know, just decide who are you going to listen to, because hakuna haja ya kushinda ukisikiza negative news na inakufanya unakasirika. So washa mikono, sanitize, keep your distance. At the very least, wacha corona ishe na bado ukwe hai.
Just abiding by all the government regulations. Now, talking about corona, it has left several businesses and counting losses. Here in Kenya, I mean, the tax base keeps shrinking every other time, and I think the government, as of now, it has a bit of a challenge trying to raise revenue towards bankrolling various activities. And I was thinking, because it's everyone who's affected and we have the ability, why can't we just, why can't the government just print money and distribute to us?
I know, you know, Patiwe, utoke nje Patiwe 1,000 for being alive in Kenya today, 1,000 for the next 90 days. I mean, it makes sense to do that, at least that's what everybody is saying. And what typically happens when such a big pandemic happens, people tend to say that is a good thing to do because the economy is not doing well, as you have rightfully said. But then on the flip side, there's a disadvantage. Let me give you an example. If the government prints money and gives you today, as Mr. Sang, it will be giving you money that you have not worked for, right?
It's true.
So it goes and gives Mr. Sang, it gives Mbithe, it gives everybody in Nairobi money. So let's say everybody is given 10,000 shillings, for example. Okay. Now, before, we couldn't afford to buy food, for example, because you hadn't gotten work. So you couldn't go to Naivas and say, nipatie unga. Because huko umefanya kazi.
It's true.
Sasa all of a sudden sisi sote tumepatiwa pesa.
Everyone has
na
money.
Tumeenda Naivas. Unajua Naivas, if they only had 100 bags, now they're selling 100 bags maybe to 1,000 of us. Because ule mtu alitengeneza unga, haku increase capacity yake ya kutengeneza unga.
He or she only made 1,000.
No, he or she only, for example, only made 100 bags. So you see, let me go back a bit. Before the government prints money, the way the economy runs is you have people who engage in economic and productive activity and generate money.
It's true.
The government will put in a shilling and then something called the multiplier effect. Hiyo shilling ikipitia kwa Sang atenda a hustle, apate shilingi mbili. Akipata shilingi mbili, aende anunue kitu ingine from Mbithe's shop. Mbithe extends that 2 shillings inakuwa shilingi 5. That's what we call GDP and economic output. So all of us are building this value of money out of economic activity. So you have a balance in the economy where we're saying we have found a way of what is the right demand, what is the right supply, and you have a community where there's sufficient money in that system or insufficient money that's chasing goods in that system. So, in other words, huyu mtu anatengeneza unga, for example, amejua ile demand inakwanga ya unga generally ni 100 units, and those are the number of people who can afford that unga. Right? Now when you go and print money, Sang utapatiwa do na hujafanya kazi.
It's true.
Haujafanya kazi. You haven't earned that money. Then now you go and buy these goods from this person who was selling goods. Sasa see, all of a sudden, your price inaweza move from 100 to 1,000.
Because every person
can afford it. But you see, the government can't be printing money every day. So you unga move from 100 to 1,000. In 3 months, haujapatiwa hiyo check ingine ya free. Na hauna kazi.
So it's for a certain period of time.
How will you afford to buy the same unga for 1,000? So that's what happens when the government prints money. There's a concept called hyperinflation because you're pushing money into the economy, but there's no economic activity that's supporting the base for that money.
Okay.
So you end up having many people chasing goods, and they're only chasing goods on a one-off basis or on an irregular basis. And then once that money is out of the system, they can't afford, but the price has gone to 1,000, and now you can't afford that unga and you don't have money. So that's the thing that happens with hyperinflation, and it's something that has happened in Zimbabwe. Where Zimbabwe, you keep seeing the government printing money, but the people are poor and they can't afford food, but there are dollars that are distributed, but the value of that money is literally worthless.
So generally it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Because it's like saying you're a Zimbabwean millionaire. Ukipatiwa million ya Zimbabwe utafanya nini nayo?
Now, what about printing that money and then use it to offset the foreign debt?
Yes.
Like the money we borrowed from IMF and those Chinese banks.
Yes. That's also a thing that the economists propose in times of pandemics, because your economic tax base cannot generate sufficient taxes to be able to offset. So currently with COVID, and not just for Kenya, even globally, people are beginning to say, why don't people then print money just to be able to overcome this pandemic? But the thing is, you're printing money and you're sorting out a problem, but you're not generating economic activity from that. So there'll still be the concept of inflation. And on that particular concept for paying your lenders, the main functions of central banks, both in Kenya and globally, it's to manage inflation. You know, I don't know if you've heard of inflation targeting. Unasikianga central bank wanasema 5% plus or minus 2.5%. That's the inflation range that the central bank works upon.
Okay.
Now when it prints money, it can no longer target inflation, so it can't manage money supply. So when it prints money to go and pay the lenders or to distribute in the economy, then the central bank's core mandate is actually interfered with.
I get you.
So it's a thing that makes common sense, just go print it and distribute it, but then the ripple down effect is actually worse off. It's worse off for you and it's worse off for the country. And if you remember what happened in Kenya back, I think in the 80s and early 90s, that's what used to happen. And interest rates just kept increasing and increasing and increasing. So to a point you couldn't be able to borrow from the bank and you couldn't afford to actually have any money with you, yet money was being printed on a regular basis.
True.
So it's something that is allowable when there's a pandemic, but because for COVID we are sort of getting a sense of we are getting a sense of how to manage it and mitigate it. So people are against it because your obligations should be met by sustainable economic activity, not you going to print money to cover up a wound that's already existent.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes sense.
Okay.
A lot of sense.
Okay.
Now, different from that, as a country, we are now struggling to raise revenue, and we are resorting to other means like borrowing from World Bank. And now, the other day, they actually approved a loan for us, and according to some media, it was found that it was stashed in some foreign account belonging to some politician. I think to me it's a waste. Is it in a way going to affect our lending, or what can I say, lending credibility? Are people willing to, in the future, are people going to, will they be willing to lend money to Kenya now that we are wasting it? We have nothing to show for the money we borrowed.
So Mr. San, let me answer that differently. So if imagine you're a family man, so you have a business, you're an entrepreneur, you have a good business, and then you go to the bank and ask for a loan. When you go and ask for the loan, you tell the bank, nipatie hii loan juu nataka kwenda kununua raw material, then I'll pay you back.
Yes.
Then the bank gives you the money.
Yeah.
Alafu kesho unapatikana Mombasa raha. So hiyo pesa
I haven't spent the money on
No. Unapatikana Mombasa raha. Then what happens to the business? The business does not grow because you didn't put the money there.
Okay.
Then tomorrow, you come back home, or maybe a year later, because your business is just not generating money, bank itafanya nini na nyumba yako?
It will auction it.
You'll be auctioned ama utapata.
Yeah.
So the people who are going to suffer, if you're a family man, your wife, your children, and maybe your family, the people who depend on you for their well-being.
I get where you're going.
Na hawakukuwa na we Mombasa.
So we as residents, we are going to suffer.
We are going to suffer because what will happen is when the IMF or any person is giving Kenya a loan, they look at your ability to repay. So we'll still keep repaying, but this loan is not repaid by that politician. It's paid by you and me through our taxes. So,
okay, it's not free money.
It's not free money. So, in fact, what you and I need to get to, we need to get to a point where we go and tell that politician, wewe, ni tabia mbaya, rudisha hiyo pesa, accountability.
Use this money for its intended nini.
Use the money for its intended purpose, and maybe that has to be either a constitutional process. I mean, that's beyond my purview, but what I'm bringing to the point is, if this money keeps being taken and not used in the right way, then you are the one who's going to pay for it, and your future generation is going to pay for it. And some of the powers that we have as individuals is, tukirudi kwa ballot, please be careful who you put out there as a leader, and also just to pray that your leaders get a bit of wisdom and see the consequences of what they're doing so that they can possibly do the right thing. Actually,
I saw some jokes on social media. They were saying, some of our Kenyan politicians wanaweza kunywa uji ya mgonjwa.
Watakunywa imagine watakunywa. Na nani ameweka hao politicians hapo?
Ni sisi. Okay, so we are to blame.
We are to blame. But just to answer your question, the lenders cannot hold you accountable to how you use your money. They can only hold you accountable to paying it back. So in not so many words, IMF doesn't care if you use it for the right thing or not. They would want you to use it for the right purpose. But when they're giving you that money, they're looking at you, can you pay it back? If you can pay it back, sawa. Hiyo ingine ni wewe na watu wa? The same scenario of the house. Hii bank ukikataa kulipa, watakuja tu wafunge nyumba wachukue vitu wauze. The relationship between you and your wife and your kids, hiyo ni ya?
So long as they get their money back.
So long as they get their money back.
Is that something sort of free money can get?
There's
maybe
no free lunch.
An assistance from
there are grants,
well-wishers.
There are grants, but there's nothing like a free lunch. They always come with strings attached.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, a different thing.
Okay.
Altogether. The last time I was here,
Yes.
you really taught me how to invest in the stock market, and now I got convinced. But now I'm asking you today,
Yes.
investing in the stock market, is it something you can advise someone? Can it be an alternative to a side hustle? Is it that cheap? I mean, these promoters from these stock shops, they come convince you, they make it sound so simple. You think it's easy money. Is it that simple to start making money by investing in the stocks?
Give me an example of a side hustle you have done. You don't have to tell me what exactly it is, and give me an example of how much you put in and how much you got out.
Okay. Mostly I do invest my money in farming.
Okay.
Okay. I plant potatoes, beans.
Okay, let's take the potato scenario.
Okay.
How much, the last time you planted, how much money did you put in?
Okay. All the farm management practices from tilling land to weeding, buying seeds. I think it was close to 20,000 Kenya shillings.
How much did you get out?
I can't even mention.
Why, you lost money?
Okay, I made a small...
No, just give me the number. Don't feel bad.
27,000.
You made 27,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's calculate that as a return. And what period did you do that for?
A period of 3 months.
A period of 3 months.
Yes.
So in 3 months, you made 27,000 and you had put in 20,000, which is 35% return on a basic basis. 35% is what you got in 3 months.
Yes.
Sindio?
Yes.
Okay. Stocks. When you look at stocks, the first way you measure performance is you look at the index. I'm sure you've had the Nairobi Securities Exchange All Share Index and SE20.
Yes.
So the All Share Index from the beginning of the year till now, it's down 27%.
Okay.
Sindio? A good stock that we keep looking at, Safaricom. In January, it hit a high of 33. Now it's...
There's a cost per share?
Yes, per share. Now it's about 28. So it has lost, if you bought it at... It's
33?
It was
5 shillings.
Now at 28, it's lost about 17%.
Yeah, 17%.
It's lost 17%. That's in a period of 4 months.
4 months.
Now, this 20,000, if you put it in stocks, it would be down 17 if you just went and bought Safaricom as a stock, right?
Wow.
But with your planting, it went to 27.
Yes.
In those 3 months.
Yes.
The same way, this Safaricom stock can move from 28 to 33. So what I'm saying is, stocks are risky. Iko juu, iko chini.
Yeah.
The time when you're looking at your finances, what you're trying to get at is, I want this wealth, I want to grow wealth. I want to grow wealth, and yes, stocks can be my side hustle, but I want to make sure niko na emergency funds in case I lose my job in this COVID. After that, I want to preserve my capital. Unasikia unasema nimetengeneza pesa kidogo because you're like, hii 20,000 haija grow.
Yes.
Ungepoteza hiyo 20,000 ungekuwa comfortable.
No.
Exactly. So if you're not at the point where I'm comfortable to lose this money, you really don't have any business in the stock market. It's a roller coaster. Iko juu, iko chini. Secondly, the time you get to the stock market, if you're thinking about your finances, is coming to the stock market when you're comfortable. When you're at the point where umetengeneza pesa nyingi kutoka your potatoes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now you're like, hii mavuno, the return from this, the 7,000 is what I would advise to put in the stock market. Juu hata ikipotea, 20,000 bado iko intact.
Oh, wow.
Iko intact. But let me also give you another way. 35% is a good return because it means he 20,000 ukifanya how many times in 4 months? I mean 4 times in a year. How much will you have made?
That's a profit of 7 times 4. That's 28,000.
7 times 4, 28,000 on your 20,000. Haven't you doubled your money?
Yeah, it's quite good.
That's the best return.
Yeah.
The best return, because people think the stock market gives you exemplary returns. It's only on a one-off basis, and it's very speculative. I have found in my own experience, if you are able to start a business and sustain that business, there's more return in that business. Then what you do as you grow, you say, hey, kushinda nikichimba kila siku inanichokesha. When you get to that point, you're like, now I want my money to grow and I want other people to make me that money. That's now when you start taking hiyo mazao yake, you go and put it in the stock market, and you have to have the mindset, ikipotea, niko sawa. Isipopotea, ni sawa. And you also have to give it a long time horizon. They say 5 to 10 years. So don't be looking at it ati nitaenda leo na niuze. There are people who speculate, they lose money and they gain money. But for the stock market, it has to be, have I secured my home? Have I been able to invest in government bonds to ensure my capital does not get lost? Do I have my savings and emergency fund in order? Then have I invested in my business? Has my business grown? Then I think I have a bit of leeway to invest in the stock market. Ndio ikipotea yote, sawa. And I'll give you an example. Right now, Kenya Airways, people are putting in a lot of money and saying it's going to double. It has doubled from 0.86 to about 2.18 shillings. That's the high touch this week. If you bought at 86 cents, you made money. But remember, there are people who bought this stock at 100 shillings. And it went to 0.86. There are people who have bought Mumias. There are people who've bought.
A lot of money.
They've lost money. And what I'm getting at, get to the stock market the same way you follow your inputs for your potatoes, unanunua unapeleka. When you get into the stock market, make it your daily business to know what's going on. How is my investment doing?
Talking about that, now you've invested money
Yes.
in the stock market. Every other time you buy a share, you lose money. You sell a share, you lose money.
Yes.
So how do you advise this person who's invested in the stock on how to stop making losses?
Let me tell you. Now with VAT, if you take a short horizon of putting money and getting money out, it's costing you between 6 to 7% to trade.
Yeah, sure.
Because they increase the brokerage fees with by increasing VAT. So all brokerage business has a VAT element to it, meaning the cost of buying a share of trading is about 3 to 4%, depending on who your stockbroker is. The cost of selling that share is 3 to 4%. Already, here only 8% gone. 8% gone. So even though this stock gives you 20%, 8% has gone to cost. You've only made 12%. So there's an opportunity in the stock market, but for you, I would not take it as a side hustle today. I'd say keep doing your side hustle because you want your money to grow. You want to reduce the risk of losing your money. You want it to grow. Go and now the next level is go and look for a credible market money fund. They give you 10%. It's better to have kidogo return, but have your capital there. Invest in the government directly if you want. You can walk to central bank and you open an account. When you open an account, now you can trade on your phone. You want to preserve your capital. And then when your return on your capital starts to grow and you're feeling, okay, I'm comfortable, take that money and put it in the stock exchange and then begin to speculate. You know, not to speculate, to see how is this market working and give it a long time horizon. That's what I would advise.
Okay. From your own experience, like I know you are an expert in this. How long did it take you to start making money in the stock market? And then what actually motivates you? Every other time you lose money.
I'm almost getting tired, but the first time I made money, I made a lot of money on Kengen. And I was still in I was in university then.
Oh, that's when?
Anyway, I made money on Kengen and I was so excited. And that's when I was like, what happens in this market? But if I can be honest with you, I have now made it a habit of putting money aside. There are times I look at my portfolio. I looked at my portfolio over the last 3 years. I had not made money. I had not made money. You know, so what I'm getting at from this is, when you put money aside for stocks, look for opportunities when stocks are cheap. So like now with COVID, stocks will come out, they'll be cheaper. You know, so for me, like I've decided, if Safaricom comes below at the 24, 22 shilling level, it makes sense for me. Then I would look at it there. Before that, I'm not going to look at it. I'm looking at KCB and Equity Bank, and I want to buy them below 30 shillings because that would make sense for me. You know, so the thing is, buy them cheap, very, 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 very cheap. and then hold for a longer time. So rather than now the stocks being my business today, I'm looking at them as something that I would like to bequeath my future generation, where I look for stocks that can give me a dividend, a dividend yield. At least kila mwaka napata mazao. Kitu kama KCB, Absa, and Cooperative Bank have good yields. But I'm very careful because of COVID. I don't know if they will still pay that dividend next year. You know, 2-3 weeks, Bamburi used to pay dividends. Bamburi this year has not paid dividends from the results I think the last 2 weeks. They didn't pay a dividend. So I'm very careful now of saying, people are saying, endo kanunue kwa sababu hii iko na high dividend yield. But I'm like, will they be able to sustain that dividend after COVID happens? So I'm taking my time. In fact, right now I'm holding cash. I'm not investing in anything because that government has been saying, oh, we want to defer paying interest. So I'm holding cash for the next 3 months to see what is happening. In fact, what I did is earlier in the year, I actually sold out of my stocks. Because I started looking at the world, I'm like, hii COVID italeta shida, wacha kwanza nishikilie pesa. So I sold out of some of the positions that I had, and I'm neutral. I'm like, I'm holding on to cash to get a sense what is going to happen, to get a sense of the direction that's going to we're going to take as a country, as an economy, and what the companies are going to do, who will be impacted, and then I can go back again.
Well,
yeah,
I like that. Now, every other morning you wake up, what are the 3 indicators you look at just to tell the market trends?
Yes.
Yeah.
I look at who was trading. Actually, I look at it the day before. When the market closes, I look at foreign trades versus local trades. If the foreigners are selling out, then I think that could be a trend setter for the next day, or a pace setter for the next day. Then I look at the movers of the stock market, and I look at the price levels. Then I also screen online. There are different sites that I go to. I look at Bloomberg News, I look at Reuters, I look at Business Daily. I'm also on different platforms where people share news on stocks to see if there's any new news that has come out on Kenya or on individual stocks that will affect them. So for example, last week EABL put out a cautionary statement saying that their revenues will be down 25% for the year that's ending, or even more. And when I look at EABL, when EABL went down to 139 and it was cheaper than a beer, I would not have bought that stock, because what has been happening, the closure, when tuliekwa curfew and restricted movement, the people who drink have not been drinking. So where has EABL been selling? So EABL has not been selling. So I already now decided to take a step back. Then when they came out with the cautionary statement, I'm like, this is not unexpected. I expected that this would have happened, because no one is buying beer. People don't buy beer in their houses. They mostly drink in the bars, and all the bars were closed and all the restaurants were closed. So I was like, that will be negative. And then the next thing we had, looking at corporate news, EABL came out and said, we have closed our Kisumu plant. Sasa kama hawauzi senator huko, and senator is a sizable amount of the business that they do, that tells me at 139 I had no business looking at that stock, because the future is not as rosy as it has been. And I think the point that I'm bringing out now is to say, I like that you have the Business Daily. Make reading the Business Daily a daily habit. Follow me as well. I put out a lot of information, especially on LinkedIn. I converge the information on I try and do it on a daily basis, just to show what are the key movers today, what do we expect. Then also watch markets today, because we speak to different thought leaders, people who tell us. This week we've had people telling us, look at 5-7 years if you're going to look at stocks. We've had people tell us they're a bit concerned when it comes to the government operations, you know. And we've had people tell us, hold on to cash, and that has been the trend that we've been hearing for the last three weeks. So also listen to that. Go to Bloomberg News, go to Africa Reuters News, and just make it a habit of, when I wake up, what's happening in the business world, so that your mind begins to learn. And the last thing I would say, take books. If you want to understand investments, I would say start with Benjamin Graham. You know, The Intelligent Investor, just to start to understand what's happening. And then there's also a book that I read 2 weeks ago. It's called The Little Book of Sideway Markets. Sideway Markets. It's a very little book that just takes all the information out there and it compresses it and makes you begin to understand, how do I begin to look at stock markets and investments in general.
Now, before we go,
yes,
can I entrust someone with my money to do the trading on my behalf?
Yes.
Talk to me about the online brokers. I've
Yes.
heard of full service.
Yes.
I've heard of discount brokers.
Yes.
And I also read somewhere that during the 2008 financial crisis, there is a new breed of online brokers that came up. So tell me something about those brokers.
So those services are not necessarily available for trading stocks in Kenya. They mostly look at global markets, where you go onto their platform, you put a minimum amount of money, and then they give you leverage debt. No, so it's margin trading. They give you debt, and then they start to allocate. They look at your risk profile and your risk tolerance, and then they trade for you. You can trade with them if you want to. But what I say is, with any investments, don't go like you're going into a casino and you don't know what you want. You know. So because hii pesa ni yako,
It's one.
before you go to a platform and look for someone who can execute for you, decide what you want. Do I want local stocks? Do I want foreign stocks? And do your due diligence. Mr. Sang, you look like a young man. Will you go and marry all the women that you have met?
No, of course I have to identify one.
Exactly. And do you have your
With
parameters?
all the desirable traits. I mean, everything woman.
Desirable traits.
Yes, yeah.
So the same way that there are new technologies of trading, go look at them and find out what is desirable to Mr. Sang, what makes sense to Mr. Sang, isn't it? Before you start putting your money out there. So be very cautious, because there are very many people who are out there. And the thing I'll leave you with is, there's a difference between marketing and the actual product. You know, like the example I'll use is, most of us buy insurance from agents. Huyo agent hata ajuangi nini anakuzia. But they convince you. So be careful about marketing and do your own work instead. Do your homework, then have a plan and decide, this is how I want to invest. Then do the due diligence on who will help me make this investment. All right. I think we have to end it there, and I hope we can have you again. I feel like there are many questions, so I hope we can be able to have you again. Hopefully next Friday, then we can finish this conversation. All right. Thank you so much. That was us having Ask Mbithe. It's Friday. Always very exciting to be on set on a Friday. We are joined by Mr. Sang. And again, I say Mr. Sang is that 10 billion investor in a decade or so. But he's starting his journey today, and he's starting by being very inquisitive and asking us a couple of questions. We have covered key things today. We have looked at the government of Kenya, and the tax base is not looking very good, meaning that it's going to be a bit of a shaky year for the next year or two. We have looked at investments on the Nairobi Security Exchange. We will not go back to where we were before COVID. So what we are saying is, before you make any investment today for the long term on stocks, wait and see how these companies will operate. And we have taken a deep dive on East African breweries. I hope you can be able to watch the previous part of the show to understand. And what we have concluded is this: hold on to your cash before you decide to do anything. But most importantly, own your own financial journey. Go and find out more about investing, and then make a plan for yourself and decide, how do I start with first creating my emergency funds, then going to safe assets that give me a fixed return, such as money market or investing directly in the government. And then after that, begin to identify stocks that make sense for you, for your portfolio, based on your risk tolerance. Then do a proper due diligence on which partners can be able to help you with that. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope to see you next week on Monday, same time. Do have a fabulous weekend. Good day. Yes?